Immersion is defined as deep mental involvement. In the context of a role-playing game, the term immersion usually refers to the state of being fully focused on the game, often by fully inhabiting your character's personality and point of view. A lack of immersion, however, can result in players becoming distracted and doing things like checking their phones, idly chit-chatting, or fidgeting with their dice. This often has a negative influence on the game, because role-playing is a group activity. In order to prevent this from happening, we have a few tools to use that will help to focus the player's attention on the game. The first tool in your kit for encouraging immersion is leading by example. You very well can't expect your players to stay focused on the game if you don't. As a general rule, leading by example is the best way to signal to your players what is the behavior you expect at the table. Avoid checking your phone, talking about unrelated topics, or engaging in other distractions. It is very helpful to discuss expectation for potential distraction like food at the table, alcohol consumption, and phone etiquette during session 0, as we've discussed. And don't forget that you can set different expectations with different groups. In one of my current gaming groups, we have a no phone at the table rule. In another, we play using the D&D Beyond app, so everyone has their phones out, but we agree to not go into any social networks. In a third group, only 2 players are allowed to have their phones out. One to take pictures and document the sessions, that's me, and the other because they have ADHD and need something to fidget with. Find a balance that works for your group. The next helpful tool for encouraging immersion is don't leave anyone out. During session prep, make sure everyone can contribute to the events in the session. Planning a session of tense negotiation with the Elven High Lord is a great idea. Planning a session of tense negotiation with the Elven High Lord when literally everyone but one character can speak Elvish is a problem. Have a backup plan. Maybe the High Lord Wizard can cast a spell so that everyone can communicate telepathically. Maybe there's a Chambers of Discussion where everyone can understand each other and no one can lie. Or maybe the Elven High Lord just have a translator with them. Planning a dungeon with a Chamber of the Void where no magic can function is cool. Planning a whole adventure inside the Palace of the Void where no magic can function is a nightmare for anyone playing a spellcaster. So if during the session you notice you have created a situation in which one of your players have lost all agency, correct that and make changes as you go. A good way to practice using this tool is to think about the last character you've played. Try to imagine a situation where your character would not be able to contribute to the game. Maybe a fight with a flying opponent, an underwater skirmish, a conversation in Elvish, a dwarven birthday party that takes place in complete darkness, a Martian feast that takes place in 0 gravity. Thinking about settings that will take away players' agency is a good way to avoid this pitfall. The third tool you can use to increase immersion is acting. First, I want to acknowledge that acting isn't for everyone. Some gaming groups never fully roleplay, but instead describe everything in the third person, and that's okay. That said, acting is an excellent tool for increasing immersion. And if you want your gaming group to do more roleplay, the best way to get there is to model it yourself. And later on, by providing opportunities for your players to do so as well. Now, acting is a complicated skill. Some spend years learning how to act for theater or films, but luckily for us game masters, acting NPCs is a lot easier. My favorite trick is called the free anchors. An anchor is an acting element that helps me anchor myself to the character, and also help my players identify the various NPCs I act. When acting as an NPC, pick at least one of 3 anchors: a physical trait, a voice, and a speaking pattern. A physical trait is anything you do with your body. It can be the way you hold your chin, how you move your hands, or repeating gestures like adjusting your tie. A voice is how they sound. This can be as simple as having a raspy voice, or as elaborate as having a specific accent. And the third anchor is a speaking pattern. Maybe that NPC always talk in mining metaphors, or they have a favorite curse word like triple damn that they use in every other sentence. For an on-the-spot NPC, I use 1 anchor. For recurring NPCs, I use 2. And for a major NPC, I try to have all 3 together. So I could very simply go into character.
Hello, adventurers. I'll be Triple Dan, but I like you guys.
Likewise, encouraging your players to act is very rewarding. One of the best ways to achieve that is to invite them to do so. If their character is saying something meaningful, ask them what they say. Roll a deception check is fine, but tell me, what lies Timorin tell the guards at the gate is an encouragement to elaborate. My favorite acting suggestion is actually during combat. When a character performs some sort of cool maneuver, I often pretend not to understand what they mean and ask them to stand up and show me how that maneuver would look. Acting can be intimidating for players sometimes, but most players quickly warm up to the idea and enjoy it tremendously. For practice, try taking 2 characters you've played and write down 3 anchors for each. Then, act out a conversation between the 2, practicing both acting the characters and the transition between different characters. 4. Use the first person. You don't have to act out entire characters. Simply using the first person is enough sometimes. There is a big difference between the king shouts angrily at you as you enter the throne room and "How dare you show your faces before me, you vile maggot-dropping!" the king shouts as you enter the throne room. Using the first person puts us more firmly in the role of the NPC we are currently depicting. It serves as a reminder to ourselves and the players that right now we are in the role of playing an NPC. Making a clear distinction between our off-play GM role and our in-play GM role telegraphs our players what is expected of them. Addressing them in the first person is an invitation to reply in the same, thus encouraging an in-play dialogue. Lastly, you can always encourage immersion by generating the right atmosphere. How can you set the right atmosphere? One cool option is adding music and sound effect to your sessions. I highly recommend to start off slowly, as using sound is a whole skill of its own. But you can easily use tools such as tabletopaudio.com, which has a great range of music and ambient sound to use during your gaming session. I personally love the track Baruvian Castle for scary intros. Changing the lighting in the room is also a great way to enhance the atmosphere. My players know that whenever I dim the lights a bit, things are about to take a turn for the worse. There are many other tools that you can use to encourage immersion, but we found that these deal with the most common challenges that GMs encounter during gaming sessions. Of course, one of the best tools to increase immersion is making your descriptions more captivating. How can you do that? Glad you asked. We got a whole list of tools for better descriptions coming right up in the next lesson. But before we jump to the next lesson, let's take a few minutes to reflect and practice on the immersion tools that we have learned. Head over to the Chapter 6 worksheet and find the Tools for Immersion section. Choose one or more prompts to respond to that are tied to tools that you want to try using. See you at the next lesson.